I was 18 when I first met John. We worked together. Eventually we just started out as friends, but then eventually he did ask me out and we went out and we dated. And then it was probably about 4 or 5 years later we got married. We moved away. We started a family a couple of years after we got married. Got two children. Got a boy age 21 and a girl age 18. It was about a year ago in January. John started to suffer at work with not being able to understand his emails. He just come home one day and said that he thinks he ought to get to the doctors because he couldn't understand what he was reading on the screen. So went to the doctors and initially was diagnosed, or they thought he just was stress related. So they signed him off for a week of work. Went back a week later. His symptoms had got worse. He wasn't able to read at all or write. His writing abilities had all started to go. Had no idea of time or numbers. So we knew then that there was probably something a little bit more deeper than stress. He got referred for a scan a week later. The scan came back that it showed he had lesions on the brain. So a couple of days after that we went back to hospital for an MRI scan, and that showed up that John had 3 tumours on the brain. So the following week he was sent to John Radcliffe Hospital for biopsy, and we had to go back a week later for the results, which ironically was on Valentine's Day. So I did say to John at the time, surely they wouldn't give us bad news on Valentine's Day. But we did, we got there, and it was the worst news. John had the most aggressive sort of brain cancer. It didn't respond to treatment very well. His prognosis was quite poor, even though we didn't ask times or anything. We was just to be referred to the oncology unit to sort out a treatment plan as far as radiotherapy, chemotherapy. So he started that the following month, just radiotherapy to begin with. And that was, I think he was supposed to have had 6 weeks, but because of the aggressiveness of the tumours, it was put down to 3 weeks. So he had all his courses. He was supposed to go back in June to see how treatment had done, whether it had been able to shrink them in any way. We knew it was never going to get rid of the tumours, but all they were hoping was that he was going to buy some time. But we still didn't know how many months John had. We never read anything into it. John never read because he couldn't. And then he passed away in May.